Hello everyone, my name's Kevin and I'd like to talk with you today about preparedness. Prepping is being ready for the known and especially unknown events that happen in life. Prepping is literally insurance. We in the developed world have car insurance, health insurance, home insurance, life insurance, which are all vital preps. But what about empty grocery shelf insurance? What about civil unrest insurance, economic collapse insurance, or even something as big as nuclear war insurance? Prepping helps secure one's future survival and prosperity for one's friends, family, and even community. It's putting more variables under our control to give us more flexibility and to make us more capable in dealing with situations. It can prevent an inconvenience from turning into a life-ruining or ending situation. From a certain perspective, many people are preppers because they are preparing for the future and unforeseen events by protecting themselves from very common and probable disasters like car accidents, health emergencies, by having basic insurance. This is the bare minimum prepper. Imagine having a bad car accident with a hospital visit and not having insurance. Those bills will go through your life savings like a green tip 556 through a steel plate. We can't afford to cheap out on the common preps. But again, from a certain perspective, most people, even with great insurance, can't really be considered prepared. For example, take a New York stockbroker, multimillionaire who has $2 million apartment stocked with champagne and some takeout leftovers, versus a guy in the suburbs or woods who has enough food to feed his family for a year. Put them in a nationwide collapse and see who thrives. But no offense to the multi-millionaire stockbroker. Grit up, you're doing great and in a good position to secure some preps before SHTF. These bare minimum people will typically have a few days worth of food in their home, maybe a vehicle for evacuations, are able to pay off their debts and bills, have insurance, and maybe some means of self-defense, even if it's just a baseball bat next to their bed, a basic first aid kit, and a fire extinguisher. That's where many people in the U.S. middle and upper class find themselves. It's not great, but it's better than most people in the world. This is good enough for the common grit-up disasters, but in a real SHTF situation, that's not enough to put the odds in one's favor. The real factor is to what degree an individual wants to prep and what direction they want to go with it. The goal, in my opinion, should be to have well-rounded preps that cover many different situations and then get more specific over time to meet our specific needs. As stated before, having control over one's finances, having insurance, first aid for very common events, a car to evacuate, a self-defense tool, and a bit of extra food is the bare minimum baseline level of preparedness. Maintaining this level of preparedness should come first. One must plan for the average, then do more. Do not ignore the boring stuff. Do not give in to sensationalism. Yes, we need to be prepared for things like Yellowstone supervolcano, invasion of mainland United States, and EMPs and all that stuff. I 100% agree, but not at the expense of the more common threats. To further prepare, we all need similar areas of improvement. We all need food, water, shelter, medicine, proper hygiene, security, financial stability, the ability to evacuate, and we need to be physically, emotionally, morally, and spiritually strong in order to overcome the adversity that lies in store for us eventually. In this further preparation, we need to ask ourselves certain questions to meet our specific needs and goals. For example, people in the southeastern United States should prepare for hurricanes. So they need to ask themselves, am I prepared for flooding, high winds, and evacuating? While someone in Southern California will need to prepare for forest fires, civil unrest, drought, and evacuating. Food is an extremely vital prep and a great place to begin preparing. We all need to stock up on non-perishable foods, but we need to ask ourselves, how many people am I responsible for? Does anyone have any special dietary needs? Do I live in an 800 square foot New York apartment or a 3,500 square foot home in the country or suburbs? This needs to be known so you know how many calories you can pack in the space you have available. This prep is a lot of fun. You get to stock up on your favorite foods, try new food to see if it's worth stocking up on, And remember, variety is the spice of life. Don't just stock up on rice and beans, have fun with it. Now for water. If someone lives next to a river, pond, or has a well, their water preps will be how to filter this abundance of water or how to irrigate crops with it. While someone in the Mojave will have to ask themselves, how many people am I responsible for? How much water does each person need? How do I safely store, filter, protect, and distribute this water? The person in the desert will have totally different water preps and needs than someone with an abundance. A human can go at most in perfect conditions 3 days without water, but in a hot environment, you can die in less than 24 hours. Being able to store, clean, and replenish water is one of the most important preps. With medicine, we all need certain items like ibuprofen, cough medicine, anti-diarrheal, basic to advanced first aid, depending on one's skill level, and wound care. But do you or someone you're responsible for need certain medications? How long can you go without them? How much do you have stored away? Can you get more? Having medicine can turn a sleepless night coughing into a pleasant night's rest and recuperation. In a grid down situation, medicine is more valuable than gold. Being able to make you and your loved ones feel and get better is priceless. Next, we come to hygiene. This is so important and can be overlooked or underprepared for. A lack of hygiene will eventually get you sick in some way or another. Being able to wash one's clothes and bathe can actually be the difference between life or death. If you have to walk 50 miles back home, but you get a rash on your feet or thighs and can't properly walk, that can be death. How many women are you responsible for? Can you make sure they have their hygiene items necessary for a short and long-term event? Do you have the ability to deal with lice, fleas, and other pests? Can you properly clean your home with no power? Do you have a plan to safely dispose of garbage and human waste? Then, as for dental hygiene, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's a whole nother subject. But dental accidents do happen, and having oral antiseptic, Oragel, and very basic dental tools can help someone a lot until they can get professional dental care. Remember, the only thing worse than going to the dentist is not going to the dentist. Now we've come to the fun subject that everyone gets excited about: security. If you live in the United States, even in the anti-Second Amendment states, you have an advantage over most people in the world who have no access to firearms, and their nations have the monopoly on violence and force, and do not want you to defend yourself. But regardless of how much freedom you have, we all have a human right and responsibility to defend ourselves and those we are responsible for. You are your first responder. Ask yourself, where are the weak spots in my home security? What are people like in my area? Do you live in the ghetto, the country, or a gated community? Do you have a home security system? Do you and your family have a plan in case someone breaks in your home? Do you have the ability to defend yourself away from home? Have you facilitated the training of your family to defend themselves? Do you have adequate training to defend yourself? Do you have the skills to defuse an altercation using verbal judo, which is extremely important? Do you have the tools and skills to appropriately de-escalate and escalate force? Are you prepared for the legal consequences of defending yourself in criminal and civil court? Then we have things like cybersecurity. Do you and your family know about the dangers on the internet? A simple mistake or bad internet connection could wipe out your entire bank account, put all your personal information online, ruin your credit, and screw up your life for the next few years. We are living in the information age, and we are more likely to have our credit card and bank and personal information stolen than we are to be mugged or have our homes broken into. We need to defend ourselves online as much as we would defend if someone's trying to steal our wallet or break in our homes. Now we need to discuss finances. If you have a large trust fund or a tribesman who trades in cattle and lives in a mud hut, you can both skip this part. But for everyone else, we need to ask ourselves some questions and be very careful how we handle our finances. We all know our incomes and assets can differ quite drastically. Some people in the world might make $100 or less in a month. Some make $100 before lunch, and some people can grow their income while they sleep. Regardless of what a man's income is, we all follow the same rules of wealth. And if a man is ignorant or disobeys a rule, that man and all those he's responsible for will suffer the consequences. Failing to be financially responsible is a huge threat to one's preparedness, health, marriage, security, and many other aspects in life. All men must know where their money goes. So we need to sit down and ask ourselves, what are my expenses, daily, weekly, monthly, and annually? Then look at what one's income is to see how much we really have at our disposal. Then we can decide how much extra food preps we can afford to put away. How much ammo can I afford to shoot and put away this year? How much of a cash emergency fund do I want to keep on hand? Do I want to invest in a stock market or transfer USD to precious metals? Do I want to max my 401k, buy land, pay off the mortgage, or buy a new vehicle? Everyone has to follow the same rules for wealth, but we can take different paths and prioritize different things. As long as a person can pay his bills, give some to charity, feed and protect his family, put some preps away, and save and invest for retirement, I'd say you're doing great. I'd also like to add that retirement is a prep many people ignore, even outside the preparedness community. Prepping to live into old age in comfort and health is something far too many people put off. Investing poorly or not at all in retirement is something younger people can't afford to overlook. People today are relying on the government and social programs for their literal survival. And I have a hunch that by the time I'm old enough to draw Social Security, it's gonna be worthless. So relying on the government to provide for me and my family is not in my plan for preparedness or success, and I wouldn't recommend anyone rely on it either. However, if you are living on Social Security or some other government aid, I don't want you to feel like I'm putting you down. We should take and use every advantage that life gives us. But you want to think about how you could live if the government suddenly stopped funding or drastically reduced your money and aid. Now we have evacuation, aka bugging out. Everyone needs to have the ability or means to evacuate our homes when SHTF comes. This happens quite often all over the world, including first world nations like the United States. In the United States and all over the world, evacuations are mostly because of natural disasters like fire, floods, and storms. Then the less common but often most devastating are people who have to leave their homes and even countries because of war and violence. Well-done evacuations can be seen in the southeastern United States when a hurricane comes. States can reverse lanes on highways to double traffic flow away from danger, get buses for the less fortunate and unprepared, and have the National Guard there for order and making sure people don't run out of gas. Then there are emergency evacuations like in a forest fire where we might have minutes to leave our homes, and the path to safety can be dangerous. In all situations where we are evacuating, we need to be ready to leave home and come back to all our possessions destroyed. Whether we have a week or 10 minutes to evacuate our location, we will want to have certain items that will be impossible or very hard to replace. We want to have our paperwork, IDs, passports, deeds, titles, social security cards, birth certificates, immigration, adoption paperwork, family photos, and the countless other items that can be very difficult to replace. We also want to grab cash, jewelry, guns obviously, and other heirloom items that we can't replace. Depending on the situation, just grabbing some food and water is the best choice. In the worst situations like a fire or home invasion when the grid is up, just getting our family away from danger while losing all our possessions is the best option. Nothing in this world is more important than family. While having to turn tail, leaving our home to be ransacked by criminals is degrading, emasculating, and not ideal, it's better than risking having bullets go through our children's bedrooms, our neighbors' homes, or even risking our women being assaulted. which is less common in the United States, but standard criminal procedure in places like South Africa. So we all need to ask ourselves, does my family and I have a plan to leave home at a moment's notice? Do we have pets or elderly or special needs people in our home who will need assistance in case of emergency? Do we have a plan in case of fire or home invasion? Can we grab all important possessions and leave home with confidence that we have everything we need? Do we have a place for our family to go? Is our vehicle capable of traveling long distances? Then in the case of grid down SHTF, as seen in places like Iraq, Syria, and many parts of Africa, are we ready to pack up everything we will need to survive indefinitely and defend our family, friends, possessions from desperate people willing to kill us over our beans, rice, and gasoline? Now we have to get a bit more introspective and honest with ourselves. We have to look at our physical fitness, mental and emotional strength, intelligence, morality, and even spirituality. Let's start with physical fitness. There isn't a universal measuring stick for physical fitness. It can vary drastically by age, gender, natural ability, and health. No one should expect an older woman to lift heavy objects all day, and no one expects an older man to be able to sprint a mile in a QRF. If someone has a health issue, young or old, have practical and honest expectations for their level of physical fitness. All that being said, we owe it to ourselves and all those we're responsible for to be reasonably physically fit. No one expects us to be a marathon runner or Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 1980s, but having a practical physical training regimen of a mix of cardio and strength training is a goal everyone should have. We all need to ask ourselves, where do I want to be in my fitness? How far can I walk in my bug out bag? How far and fast can I run in full battle rattle of bulletproof vest, ammo, and rifle? Do I have the ability to pull myself and gear over an obstacle? How much hard work can I perform before I need a break? Do I know when to slow down and stop before I get heat exhaustion? Physical training is one of the things in life that we get out what we put in. We owe it to ourselves to be the best we can be. Now we have our mental and emotional strength and intelligence. These make us who we are. They're like a team. Mental intelligence is obviously how much we know and how quickly we learn. Emotional intelligence covers things like how we react to others and how we feel. An example of someone who might not have a lot of emotional or mental intelligence is the hothead, the person who doesn't ask questions. Someone who hears something they don't like, assumes the worst, and lashes out at others. While someone with emotional and mental intelligence will ask questions before assuming the worst and letting emotions cloud their judgment. We have all seen these two people interact in a confrontation. The lower intelligence will get very angry, overreact, refuse to listen to reason, and act irrationally. The high intelligence person will try to diffuse the situation, appeal to logic and reason, and if they're really smart, know this other person is a bit slow and act accordingly. In an SHTF situation, being able to take in new information, change plans, change ideas, deal with people, and feel an emotion without reacting to it can be the difference between life and death. We need to be calm, confident, and prepared. If some guy is yelling, irate, mad, and refusing to listen, and he starts trying to pull something out of his waist or pocket, you need to know he's not pulling out candy for you. He's probably getting a weapon to hurt you. We need to be able to read other people's emotions and predict their next move, especially if they're giving pre-attack indicators. Now let's be honest. We can all learn more. We can all act unfairly towards others. We all have room for improvement. We have to know our weakness if we want to become better people. We need to ask, what more can I learn to become a better and more prepared individual? Do I have a habit of acting unfairly towards another or in a certain situation? Do I have the ability to disagree with someone but still work with them? Can I read others' emotions properly? Now we have to discuss mental toughness. One's inner man voice versus your bitch voice. Bitch voice is when we wake up and plan on working out, but we're thinking, I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow, etc. Or when doing cardio and we say, I can't go on, I need to stop, I'll make it up later. This is inner bitch voice. This is our mental weakness. Mental strength is the exact opposite. It's when we wake up, don't feel like working out, but do it anyway. It's when we're working hard and tired and keep going. It's when we have a temptation in front of us and we refuse it because it will make us weaker. This is mental strength. This is the hard path. It's the hard choices. But it's the best and only path to take us to the top of anything in life, including preparedness. Now we have spiritual and moral preparedness. This part is a bit subjective and can change depending on situations and people. Spiritual fitness is, if you're religious, being right with your God. It's kissing your wife and kids before you leave home. It's saying all you have to say to your loved ones. Every day, men leave this world, young and old, and one day our time will come. God willing, it's after a long, well-lived life, surrounded by our loved ones, with a stack of good deeds to take with us in the next life. But that's not the case for many of us. We can leave this life early for many reasons, and I prep in some way or another every day to avoid leaving this life early. But when it's our time, it's our time. And if I'm ever bleeding out, I want to know that my loved ones know how I felt about them. That they know they made life worth living. And I want to think that I'm right with my God. That I've forgiven people and I've sought forgiveness. That I gave to charity and helped make this world a better place. Spiritual fitness is not the normal prep. It's not often discussed because prepping is about survival and spiritual fitness is preparing for death. Morality during an SHTF situation can vary drastically from situation to situation. For example, if there's a local or regional disaster and people around me are hungry, especially family and friends, I will pull out my food preps and feed everyone I can because I know help is coming and I can restock my preps. I would never forgive myself if I had a year's supply of food put away and let people around me go hungry. In that situation, to let people go hungry would be morally wrong. But during an all-out country or worldwide disaster, morality will change. We have an obligation to make sure our family is fed and has all they need to live. Doing anything that can put our family's lives at risk would be immoral. Deciding what's right and wrong can be difficult when the grid is up. And when it's down, it will only get harder. Then the morality of others is something that can be difficult to predict. I like to assume the best intentions of most people I deal with, but during an SHTF situation, a good man can do some very immoral things to survive. And then, the men who are already bad will gladly kill another person for next to nothing and won't lose any sleep over it. When the majority of people go 3 days without food, kindness and morality will leave society. In its place will be the natural desire to survive. We all have to ask ourselves, what kind of man am I? Do I want to sleep at night with a clean conscience? Can I lie awake at night after making a hard decision, but knowing my family is sleeping safely with full bellies? Can I sleep at night with my family in possible danger, empty stomachs because I couldn't make a hard choice? Well, everyone, this is all I've got for now. Thank you all so much for staying until the end. I really just wanted to gloss over a few things that are on my mind that I think would be beneficial to others without getting too specific. If you found this video informative or entertaining, please give me a like and feel free to leave your opinion in the comment section below. If you like this video, check out this other one right here.